You've always heard that you need to invest, but you don't know where to begin.
Don't worry, leave that to us. We've been teaching people how to invest for the last 8 years and have helped over 45,000 people get started with investing in a simple way. And now we've made the process even easier by creating a course that teaches you how to get started investing in 5 simple steps. And it's called our L.E.A.R.N method.
Before you invest, you need to 1. Look at your financial position. 2. Establish your personal goals. 3. Assess your investment options. 4. Research the best options for you. And 5. Normalize investing regularly.
With these 5 easy steps, you can start your investment journey with confidence and clarity. But wait, there's more. We've created templates and resources to help you take action right away. After this course, you will know how much you have to invest, your investment targets and timelines, and how to invest to achieve your goals. Register now at learngrowinvestclub.com.
All right, how is everybody doing? Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm trying a new setup here, so let me know if you can hear me okay. Test 1, 2, 3. All right, so I wanted to talk about there's a lot I want to talk about, but specifically you see the title of the video. I'm going to lead off with my updated thesis on TransJamaican now. I did a video last year and I've been meaning to do an updated one. And I think this gives me a perfect opportunity to do it. Now, those who saw the previous video, you'd have heard me share my thoughts then. I decided to take down that video for multiple reasons, but I thought the way that I didn't do justice in that video to some of the things that I thought I could have said or how I should have said it and stuff like that. So I'm better prepared this time to, to do what I think would be a reasonable video on the topic. So I'm going to start by just what's been happening. So this is where we are as of today. Now, if you don't know what's happening, then, you might have not been in the market for the last couple of days. So let's kind of recap what's been happening first. So we know that TransJamaica would have gotten the go-ahead to start charging for phase 1C. That's the Williamsfield leg. So that toll started essentially last week of December last year. And so December 27th to be specific. And so they had estimated in their Q3 numbers or Q4 numbers that they were expecting revenue growth of 10 million US for the year attributed to that leg, right? So they did 91 million in revenues for last year, that's USD, and they were projecting 10 million, which would bring them over 100 million in projected revenues, right? Now that leg would have been active or in play for at least a full quarter now. So their Q1 results, which is what I'm going to go through first, would have had the full quarter of us seeing what the impact of those revenues would be on the numbers for TransJamaica, right? So that's what we're going to go through. And then we also are going to kind of recap some things from the past few years. And kind of for those who may be new to TransJamaica, just so you understand the story, where they're headed, and the fact that we've been covering them for a couple of years. So this is like our 15th video on TransJamaica, right? I've been talking about them for years. So this is not a new topic for our audience. And they have 15,000 shareholders. So it's one of the reasons why it's the most popular thing that we talk about here, because a lot of people hold shares. Even though I must say I spoke to somebody today who is not a shareholder, and it was literally the first time in a very long time that I spoke to somebody who wasn't, right? Just based on how well known the company is, right? So this is where the company finishes trading today at $8.11. Now I wanted to go to the candlestick chart for you to see how high the company went. So it traded as high as $8.20. And if you looked at the market, if you looked at the Q today, which I think you should learn to look at the queue. If you don't understand the queue, if you don't understand this chart, I recommend our level 2 course that helps you to understand, things like this chart, things like the queue, understand, how to make your trades and things like that. But if you looked at the queue this morning and you saw the opening right at 9 a.m., a lot of the trades would have executed at $8.20. And it went down a little, went back up, kind of stayed there for a little bit, and it started to move lower towards the end of the day and ultimately closed at 8.11, right? You saw for a while it went to 8.14, went back up to 8.19, and so on, right? It's a little below its average volume for 4.8 million units. I do suspect that this volume will increase for next week, as next week would be the end of the month. And so you typically will see like increased trading closer to the end of a month, just in general, right? So it's not the end of a quarter, but you never know. And so year to date, the stock is up 76%, and week to date, just for this week alone, 14.19%. This month, which is for the month of May, 17.26%, and for the quarter, it's up almost 17%, right? So the quarter we're in now would be April, May, June. So we're still one more month in a quarter, and then we'll get the Q2 report sometime in August, all right? In terms of how they did for the quarter, before I get to the actual number, we have here 13 million US in profits for the quarter. Now you'll notice this is their highest quarter since listing. The second highest one they had was Q3 last year. So Q3 would be July, August, September. Now they would have lost some revenues for the 3 weeks, October, November, or for the 2 weeks. So that would have impacted their profits. So, and then, December with the hurricane, etc. That's why I think those quarters were actually so low. And then now January, we have Q1 with Williamsfield being in play, right? So bear that in mind. So I do expect that we will see quarters above 10 million for the rest of the year. So at minimum, I'm thinking on the lower end, 30 million plus 13 would be 43 million, which would be an increase from the 37 million that they did last year. And if you assume that they do, at least 13 each quarter, that puts them to 52 million, which would be a 15 million increase on last year. That would be about 30-40%. And if you assume that this may be one of their, well, no, let me not go there, right? So, and last year they would have announced, well, they announced one dividend already since it started the year, 16 cents or 16.5 cents paid back last month, right? So April 28th last month would have been a dividend that was paid. Last year they announced 2 dividends. They've been on record for doing 2 dividends per year for the last 2 years. So it's safe to assume that that's what they're going to do again this year. So that's a milestone to look out for. So right around September, you should see a dividend consideration, dividend declaration, and then in October, you're likely going to see a dividend paid, right? Declared and paid. All right. So the Q1 numbers for them, let's go through that. All right, so of course, I always start with the P&L. So when I go through numbers for a company, I typically start with the P&L, and that's because I like to know what the company is doing business-wise first, right? If I don't understand what the business is doing in terms of growth, then I'm not interested in anything else. Now, the entire statement, the entire report is important to know, and you should go through it as an investor. But for me, I start with the P&L first because a lot of things will flow from that, right? So as an income stock, or what's largely known as an income stock, if they're not on track with revenues and their targets and projections, they're not likely to be on track with their dividends. Now, so one important thing that came out last year as they were thinking about the outlook after Melissa and things like that, they assured the public that they have enough cash to cover their operating expenses for a year. They have enough cash to cover their expected distributions and payout for at least a year. And so that tells us that they have a certain amount of cash already, right? They call it their restricted accounts. I'll talk more about that later or another time, right? So when we're comparing now from last year Q1, this was before Williamsfield to now Williamsfield. So if they projected 10 million for Williamsfield, if you say, well, 2.5 million in revenue per quarter is what's added, or at least 3 million thereabout, you could say that there still would have been some growth on what they did last year to now, right? So last year Q1, they did 22.5 million. This year Q1, they did 29 million, all right? So we saw growth there. That growth looks like at least 30%. Didn't do the numbers, but that's what it looks like. Operating expenses went up, of course. Naturally based on if revenues go up, then costs usually go up as well. Admin expenses went up by 300,000, and then finance costs here being 3 million, down from 3.3, right? So finance costs trending down is typically what you'd want to see, and admin costs, operating costs, you typically want to manage those as best as you can. But as a company grows, you're likely to see those grow as well, or at least try to maintain the same percentages of that, right? So the profit before tax, which is the operating profit, grew by 33%, I want to say. Forgive me for the rough calculations if I'm off. So from 12 million to 16.7, so maybe a little bit more than 33%. And their taxation, of course, is going to be based on whatever the profit is, right? So the number is higher because the profit is higher. So net profit now left them at 13.2 million, up from 9 million, right? So if you think about, for example, how much they pay in dividends per year, or how much they paid last year, I think they paid 20 million US in dividends last year, right? So they're making in this one quarter more than half of what they pay for dividends for last year, right? So that's something to note. Or I think, well, did they do 25 last year? I don't remember. I think it was 20 million last year. I should know this because I just went through their annual report. So the EPS would have grown. So EPS was 0.0073, and it's up to 0.0106, right? So that's certainly earnings per share growth. Earnings per share is just how much earnings they're able to generate per share outstanding, right? So for the 12.5 billion shares that they have outstanding, they generate US 0.001 cent for that. All right. So let's look at their statement of financial position, or their balance sheet. So property, plant, and equipment has actually grown to 3.8 million. I didn't really have a lot of infrastructure, but building solar panels, backup generators, stuff like that they may have would be what you account for here. Intangible assets grew by about 6 million. Deferred tax assets decreased by 4 million. And restricted cash, this is what I was talking about. So if you look at this restricted cash, they have it has actually increased from what they had. It's saying at December 31st it was 80. Now it's showing 93 here. So what they had last year around the same time, that's where they are. So they pretty much keep cash as contingency, and that's what is here. So what that means is that there should be no disruption. If they should ever have to stop the toll for any period, there's going to be a certain amount of cash that they have to just do what they need to do. So if for some reason they can't collect any revenue, they'll be able to do that. But this gives them a certain amount of cash to be able to just have a smooth operation. So inventory is going to be minimal, of course, based on the fact that their product is the road. Other receivables, about 4 million. Cash and bank balances. So if you really count this cash and the restricted cash, they have over 100 million US in cash, right? That's pretty much what you're seeing there. Or this is saying expresses it as like 100 million. Yeah. So that's what they have in cash. So this is cash and this is cash. It's just that the restricted cash has certain, conditions under which they would use it. But it's good to see them have that much cash, right? Which gives them a lot of flexibility, and they may have conditions where they're allowed to use that cash, right? So assets, have increased by 9 million. Shareholders' equity, so their retained earnings has increased to 56 million US, up from 37 same time last year. And then now they've been paying down the preference shares, right? So I think they paid 20% of it last year. So it has reduced from 24 million to 19.5. Their borrowings has also been going down, and this is one of the things you want to watch closely, because as they continue to pay down the debt, that cash now that's available, if you look at their finance costs here, right? Finance costs of 3 million US, right? If they now are spared from having to pay, that's a 13 million US last year went to finance costs. If they no longer have the debt, then that 13 million is now cash that they would have to distribute to shareholders. So that going down is a good thing. Provisions there, 4.6 million. And then we have current liabilities. So pretty much what's currently owed within 12 months, borrowings owed this year, dividends payable this year. I'm assuming this would be the dividends that would have either been prepared to be paid. I think I need to ask that if that's, well, it says note 10. So let me just check to see so I don't misspeak here. Note 10 says at board meeting held. So it's dividends for this year, right? So that 13 million that you see there, if they announce the same dividend, then they'd pay about 26 million US in dividend, right? So what they would have earned in Q1 would be about half of what they plan to pay for dividends for the year, right? So that 13 million up from what they paid last year. All right, yes, so they paid 20 million last year. So 10 and 10, 20, now they're paying about 26, right? And then now we have here provisions, corporate tax payable, contract liabilities, trade and other payables. And so we're seeing their equities and liabilities here. And I won't go through the cash flow statement, but I would read the highlights, right? Let me see if there's an outlook for the stock. Okay. There's not, but let me read. All right, let me read, because I'm very interested in traffic growth, right? So strong growth in traffic volumes across the network, increased adoption of electronic toll, efficient cost management, that's what you want to see, and lower finance costs that's driven by ongoing debt reduction. All right. Went through that already. So sustained demand for toll usage. Now there was kind of like this kind of boycott that we heard notice about last year. I haven't heard much about it since. Resilient revenue base despite temporary toll suspension. Ongoing investment in service quality and efficiency. Right. So again, what I'm looking for and what I'm basing my thesis on is traffic growth, right? So for the annual report, I was very, very interested to look on traffic growth, how that's been coming along, what that data shows, what the trend is showing, because for them, the number of vehicles going through the toll is extremely important, right? That tells you the levels they have to pull in terms of, now I don't know if they're going to do a toll increase this year. No, that I believe Ivan would have said on an interview on Taking Stock years ago that they have as a part of their agreement the ability to increase it every year, though I don't think they do. I think based on what's happening now, they may not, but I think they do have the ability to do it if they so choose, right? So I'm not sure, but I mean, if you're growing revenues without doing an increase, that's also good. So if the revenues are growing because traffic is growing and then there's an increase in the fees, then that also would lead to growth in revenues and therefore, profits, right? So, so the addition of Maypen to Williamsfield Leg, which contributed 3.5 million. So this means that they're potentially ahead of their projection, because if they projected 10 for the year and they do 3.5 in a quarter, they do 3.5 every quarter, that means they would have exceeded the projection by 40% for the year, right? Hopefully you see that. So representing 12% of total group revenue, increased traffic, we spoke about that before, and continued expansion in T-Tag adoption. So those are the things that I'm looking for here and what I think would be important to watch as well. And they've been doing more marketing in terms of T-Tag usage, right? I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I want to look at how it traded today. So I'm going to try to log in. Let me see how that goes. So guys, let me know your thoughts on TransJamaica. What is your current, thesis or outlook for it? What do you think? What's one thing that you'd want to? I mean, what are you expecting to happen from here? Is what I'm asking. All right. So for those who are shareholders, for those who are not, let me know. And for some reason I can't log in, so maybe I won't be able to do this. Let's see. All right. Arva says, I think the dividend will be higher in October based on the payout ratio from the prospectus. Interesting. All right. So I can't log into JTrader, guys. Let me try Moneyline instead. Maybe it's a good reason why I can't log into JTrader. I don't want anybody to see what shares I hold. Let me see here. All right, so Neil says $15 to $20 easy. I make no such comments anymore. I leave that to you guys to do that. When I speculate, I get into trouble, so I shall do no such thing. All right. Akelia says, every day is a new all-time high over the past few days. I just love watching my money grow. Okay. All right, congratulations to you. What's funny, Yardi? All right, let me see if I can see the last trades. Yep, that's the part I want to see. So I had fun explaining this to a client this morning because they're persons who, so one of the things we teach in our level 2 program is how to understand the queue, right? I won't get into the details here because that's not the point of this video, but somebody was trying to understand pre-market, so I was teaching them about pre-market, teaching them about how to place orders and things like that, right? But if you notice, this is the Moneyline breakdown, because for some reason I can't log into my JTrader. So you'll notice it started the day at about 8:20. Those were most of the orders filled at 9 a.m. 9:01 it went down to 8:05, went as high as 8:10. From there, I think it found its way back to 8:20 at 9:09. So that didn't take long. And then 8:10 throughout the day, kind of went between 8:05 and 8:20. Spent some time at like 8:18, that kind of thing. So you can watch how it traded throughout the day, and then there are certain points that I look for. Again, I won't necessarily get into that here. That's not really the point of the video. But let me see if I'm missing any comments on IG. No, I don't think so. All right. So so it ended the day at 8:15 here. So that's what we saw today, right? And it's very interesting, I think, to understand the queue. If you're trying to invest and invest for growth specifically, you need to understand the queue. Right? You need to understand how the queue works, how to place your orders, when to buy, when to sell. Those are questions you need to answer. All right. Yardi says, can you explain outstanding shares? By the way, what's the cost for level 2? So I'll talk about that a little later, but outstanding shares, what you see here, right? So it says here shares outstanding, and that's 12.5 billion shares. So that's a number of shares that they have issued. So shares outstanding just means it's out there, right? It's what has been allocated to different shareholders. Now I did not check if their approved shares is unlimited. Typically companies, when they list, they may leave it as unlimited or set a number so that if they wanted to increase shares, they could. But anything like that can always be addressed through a resolution passed at the AGM or something. But they have 12.5 billion shares outstanding. Now it's a large share pool. The top 10 is, of course, in the report. Let me see if that was shown. So these are the top 10 shareholders as at March 31st. So, and this has changed since the offer for sale. So we have National Insurance Fund and, NCB has quite a few in there. But if you notice here for the top 10, that's only 3.9 billion. So out of the 12.5 billion, about 4 billion in the top 10, right? So that's about 31%. And then, of course, you have, managers, etc. Ivan increased his shareholding significantly as CEO. I think when it was just listing, I think I remember seeing him at like 3 to 4 million or something like that. I think he's increased his position. I may be wrong. I'd have to double check. And these were the other management team, right? And then this is top 10 preference shareholders that you're seeing here. So yeah. So hopefully that helps you, Yardi. In 5 years, you'll be looking $1 dividend for the year based on revenue growth. Is this a question or a statement, Tony? Let me know. Diane, well, you already know you can join level 2, Diane. Diane, you were in the challenge last year. You can join level 2 whenever you're ready. All right. What's the total amount of trades for the day? Did I count that? Already logged out, Orville. I didn't check. Sorry. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Expect them to move to quarterly dividends in the future. I did ask Ivan that on an interview we had a couple of years back. If you watch that interview, let me see if I can find it for you all now. So I'm going to wrap up this video soon. By the way, I just wanted to share my thesis, my updated thesis before I ended this video. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And I'll kind of wrap up this one shortly. All right, so this interview I did with Ivan back 2 years ago, I asked him if his plan was to pay a quarterly dividend. I think maybe close to the end of the video. So watch that video, check it out, guys. If you watch this video, you'll understand a lot of what you see happening over the last 2 years. That's why we do these interviews. So those are very helpful. Check that out. That helped me to update my thesis and position myself a few years back, because I said this was 2 years ago. So for example, when they first started to pay dividend twice, it was because of this interview that we did in November 9th, 2023, so almost 3 years ago. And so you would have explained that in 2024 they're going to start paying dividends 2 times. So if you look here, before in 2023 they only paid dividends once per year. So I know how the market reacted when they paid it in April. Persons weren't sure that they were going to get another dividend, but he said it in our interview that they're going to be doing twice for the following year. So that's one of the things that I was ready for because he said it on the interview. All right. So just something to do. It's still worth watching. They still kind of shared a lot in that interview. So just something to check out. All right. Orwell says, remember that he said the projection was conservative. Yeah, man, of course. That makes sense. Tony said statement. All right, cool. Diane said soon be back. Well, don't wait too long because we're going to be revamping the program for next year. All right. a lot of info in this one video alone, of course, right? I asked some very specific questions, and I would have asked some very specific questions at the investor briefing. It's interesting to see though that like the entire company knows me. When I go to the investor briefing, persons are calling me by name. Everybody, I think they watch these videos. I wouldn't be surprised. What's the new thesis? Okay, well, Orville just always wants to get to the point, right? Who will own the Mobay toll? Need a next interview with him. Now I have asked Ivan for an interview, and he does not answer me. I asked him, so Ivan, it would be a good time to, I know he did an interview on taking stock recently. I think, and I may be wrong, Ivan, if you're watching this, you can let me know. But I think the type of questions I would ask Ivan, he doesn't want to answer, right? So we had Ivan are cool, right? We actually did, L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest Limited did the TransJamaica annual report that came out recently, or one of our best work, you know. So when you check out that annual report, you know, LGI designed it, right? LGI helped with that execution. So I learned a lot just even from that process of going through the, you know, the creation of the report and things like that, right? So I think Ivan just maybe wants to, I don't know what he's waiting for. I'll ask him when I see him again, but I've asked him for an interview. He has not, you know, answered me, right? Mobay toll is open for bids. They intend to bid. I think they did say that. Yeah, I think they said that for sure. What's the new thesis? Gains looking good. Is it a good time to buy? Diane, that is always your question, you know, Diane. I'm not going to take it on again. I am not going to give in to any such speculation. I've learned my lesson, guys. I can't bring myself to sharing any price. Even when I share my updated thesis soon, I'm not going to give a price prediction, because one of the feedback I got from the last video is that when I share a price, then it places an anchor in person's head about what they think the price should be. And it also seems to give the impression that that is my target price, right? And I don't want to get into that. I don't want to go down that road. I do have a target price. I do have expectations for the companies that I review. So when I do a review, I have something that I think would be reasonable for the stock to go to and things like that. So yeah, man. So I think I really think, you know, Ivan, Ivan doesn't want to answer certain questions, because when I was talking to him at the last investor briefing, I gave him sort of my outlook for the company for the next 10 years. And you know, talking to him, talking to the team, a lot of what I am saying or projecting or kind of saying that I think should happen if certain things fall in place, you know, sometimes I'll get a chuckle, sometimes I'll get, hey, Jermaine, you're on the right track, and sometimes I'll get, you know, just silence. So I think I think I'll just talk to them at the next investor briefing. No, they don't have RS. They don't have any more right of first refusal, but that doesn't mean that they won't be in a good position to still win any bid that they go for. All right. So Michelle thinks they tell us just wink. Guys, I'm not getting in trouble, right? I'm getting in trouble. So Jermaine speaks and the market moves. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm not that, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna say that I don't have, you know, for example, any influence. I'm not that naive. We do have a community. We do have 3,000 persons in our community. And I think, you know, based on, you know, how long I've been doing this, the impact that I see us have, I know that my words will be interpreted a certain way, especially what I say. And so I want to choose them carefully. No, they didn't reprimand me. I find that they're very welcoming of my questions. They know that the very first question I'm going to ask is about dividends. And so they kind of anticipate that question, but I think they see that I understand the company very well, right? It's a company that I've literally studied for the past 4 years. I've looked at every single report, read through every single detail of what they have released. And so it's something I know very well, right? Just want TJH to acquire more. I'm assuming you're saying silence is an answer, by the way. I think so. I think so. I think so. All right. Can't believe I didn't subscribe already. I mean, yep, some persons watching now are still not subscribed. Rika says on Instagram, what is your target price? Rika, well, you know what I'll do? Let me say this. I will share my target price in our level 1 meetup tomorrow. How about that? I'll share the range for my target price. Let me say it that way. We're having a level 1 meetup in our community tomorrow. I'm actually just misdirecting, by the way. I'm not actually going to share anything, but we are having a level 1 meetup in our community tomorrow. We're going to have a special guest. We have a CEO of a junior market company joining us in the level 1 community tomorrow. I'm not going to call his name. I told him I'd make it a surprise. So at the very least, you know, it's a him. And it's a company that I think you'd really want to hear from. So if you're not in our level 1 community, you want to sign up, RSVP for that meetup tomorrow. And this is one of those companies that have been getting a lot of attention over the last few months. And so you don't want to miss this meetup. I just asked him to pop into our community tomorrow to say a few words, you know, kind of, you know, answer some questions, that kind of thing. So I think you'll enjoy that one. All right. Still watching to see if there's a slight pullback for this holiday coming up. Doesn't always happen, but still watching. All right, cool. Jermaine, sell me your RPL and you can use the money to buy more TJH. Okay. You know, whatever you say. I will not be disclosing any of my portfolio at this time, right? This show deserves way more likes. Skunk Greg. I mean, it's all right. Thank you for doing that, but I'm not really, like, I don't worry about likes or that stuff. Meaning, I'm here to connect with you guys, to share, to invite persons to invest, and to get the ball rolling there. But you know, it's hard for some persons to hit the like button. It's you know, asking for too much. Selling them for him as a middleman, $10 per share. Oh, so that's your target price, Levine. Okay, cool. Atlantic. Okay. Officially things, I really like Atlantic. I think Atlantic is I mean, especially with current prices, I think it's a great opportunity. I think the full impact of what they'll have the opportunity to do with not just the rebuild, not just their ordinary trajectory before the rebuild, not just the new business line that they have acquired that they're going to grow into. I think the prospect for them looks very good, especially in the short to medium term, so like 6 months to 2 years mark. I think will look very interesting for them. I think the first time they announce a dividend, the market will receive that well. And so I really like Atlantic for sure. It's not Michael Leachin, no. $15 to $20 is your price range. All right, Tamara. TJH to $20. Jamaica Politics TV says. All right, no problem. I mean, it's good that you guys have your target price in mind. As I said, I'm not gonna fall for that anymore, and you know, share any target prices. Certainly not in this setting to get myself in any trouble. All right, so my thesis, all right? Oh yeah, so Omni has has completely surprised me. One sec, guys. All right, so my son just like came into the room behind me, sleeping. So, okay. Seems like he just wanted to spend some time with me, so that works. All right. All right. So, yes, they are. Yeah, man. So Omni, I have to give it to a certain person from level 3. You will not be named. He mentioned Omni, I think earlier this year. And I was like, nah, I'm not feeling Omni. I don't see it. I don't believe it. And I must say, what those numbers showed was very, very intriguing. Now, the report, I think they should have written that report a little differently, but certainly it was very good to see. So I'm seeing some buzz about JetCon. I'm like, okay, not really. I mean, to me, I don't know. I haven't watched the Limitless podcast interview on JetCon yet. Anyway, but I think I glanced at their numbers. Maybe I need to look at it again, but I'm not. Their stock is up 90% since the start of the year. I mean, I'll have a look. I can't say that I've really looked into the company, but I see people talking about it. I'm like, okay, I wish them all the best, right? But that's the kind of company where I feel like, well, let me see. Let me look at the numbers first before I say anything, right? Okay, they went from 196 million in revenues Q1 to 418. Okay, that's certainly sizable. Their 12 months was 941, and profits went from 9 million to 60. Okay, I mean, that's definitely good growth. The only thing that I would watch for with a company like this would be overpaying. Now it depends if they've truly turned things around. That's good, especially for those who are able to get in early. So I'll look into it, but it's not my type of company at all, I'd say. Marva said watching Omni. I agree. I didn't like how the report flowed. Yeah. All right. So let me wrap this up because I hear Orville in my head saying just get to the point. Mr. Barnes from Atlantic. That would be interesting. I did get his number at the Qantas briefing. And by the way, isn't Qantas supposed to close today or is it tomorrow? I have no idea. I have no idea what's happening with Qantas. When the JMMB guy on Taking Stock was talking about it last week, he sounded like it was already oversubscribed. They're just kind of going as far as they can go. Maybe that's what they're doing. But when you do something like that, when the market could potentially forget about the company, I don't know if that bodes well for it, especially in terms of trading for the first few weeks. But if they already have their clients and so on, then I wish them all the best. But I literally forgot that they were still out because I've seen nothing apart from that Taking Stock interview. That's it. So I don't know. So I really hope TJH will be our Apple, Amazon, or Microsoft stock. Well, Microsoft stock has served me well. I'm no longer a shareholder for Microsoft. I would have sold all my Microsoft shares to purchase into the offer for sale last year. Do I regret that? I'd say no. I think it was still a good decision. That IPO will not go through. Are you talking about Qantas? If so, I mean, let's see. I don't know. They're going to close Qantas at 11:50. Tonight was the night, right? The 21st, I think. Let's not forget Indies, Jermaine can't count them out. The delay is a blessing for me right now. What delay? What about Indies? Okay. All right. So I will say that in terms of like updated thesis. So for if you saw my last thesis video. I did one last year shortly, after the offer for sale. And I spoke about what my thesis was at the time. If you want to check out that video, you should. Now, what I do think, and the things that I'm watching for, I think they're doing very well, or ahead in terms of their projections. I think that they're going to have a massive year. They're going to certainly surpass 100 million US in revenues for this year. I think if they add 14 million to the 92 million that they did last year, that's 106 million. And if there was growth already on the 92, they may do like 110 million in revenues. If they do 110 million in revenues and they're able to still manage their costs, lower their debt, and finish the year 50, 60 million in terms of net profit, then they very well may go ahead of their dividend projections for next year and announce a massive dividend, maybe like a 20-cent per dividend next year, or 20 to 22 cents, I'd say, because I did 16 cents this year, up from 12 last year. So if you add 4 cents, that puts them at about 20 cents. But Ivan said something interesting to me in terms of how they measure the dividend, right? So that makes me look at it very differently. It's very interesting talking to him about, some of their thought process as to how they view the business, how they plan to, continue to, provide value to shareholders, etc. That's kind of what my thesis is, where the company will be ahead of projections. They will have a record year this year in terms of revenues and profits, barring any, acts of God. And so I don't think they will necessarily be in a rush to announce a higher dividend. I think they'll do 16, because that'll be 32 cents. That'll be growth on the 25 cents from last year. That'll still be good. Now, they could do 20 cents later this year, but I don't think they have to, because if you count the 16 and the 16, that's 33 cents. That's still a good payout for the year. And then I think next year we can see, projected growth from that. And so that's kind of what my thesis is in terms of they'll be ahead of projections. The dividend will continue to grow. We may see an above scheduled dividend for next year. Remember, there's a range that they give it in terms of forecast, in terms of dividend yield. If you don't know what I'm talking about, read the prospectus. And so if they are on track with that or ahead of schedule with that, a simple calculation will tell you what that dividend yield is projected to be. And then a simple calculation will tell you, or a simple history lesson will tell you how the market is likely to respond. I think for the rest of their year, for the rest of the year, their reports should be, all of them should be better than they were last year. I think they'll continue to be, efficient and proactive in terms of their cost management. I think that we'll continue to see traffic volumes surpass estimates, and so that's my updated thesis. Not any price prediction for those who was waiting for that. As I said, I'm not doing that. Especially, not in this forum. So those are my thoughts. That's what I think will happen. And I mean, if you've watched other videos in terms of how I invest and my strategy, etc., then that should tell you how I would feel about some of the things I would have said. SpaceX, no thoughts on it yet, but I would do some reading on it over the weekend, because that's my plan. So 115 million. Yeah, maybe 115 to 120. I'm more concerned with the profits and not the revenues. That's why Ivan is afraid of me. I mean, I think I understand how they think. When you guys say $10 or $20, do you mean for this year? Good question. If you guys don't think you will pass $20 in the short term, like next 2 to 3 years, Tasha, I don't know what they're talking about. For those who are giving you price, maybe they should state it as well. Marva says, I'm looking for a 22-cent dividend in October. That would be almost 40 cents for the year. I'd love to see the market's response to that. I think that 3.5 million gets settled before the next dividend date. We may see an increase on the 16 cents. I don't think that's going to be settled. I don't think the government is going to repay that money. I think the best they may hope for, I think somebody said it in the last video, like a tax credit or something like that. But I don't think they're actually going to give them any money. He already says they agree with my thesis. The government have $6 billion to spend, and there will be a massive injection of capital into the economy. TJH will benefit from this. Tony said, basically, you're saying it's going to the moon. I did not say that. I'm looking for a good first stock. Take our level 1 course, join our level 2 course, and yeah. Jermaine, I totally understand what you're saying about the anchor. No, I mean, Tasha, I don't agree with, I mean, at first I kind of, rejected the notion, but I understand, right? So is it fair? I don't necessarily think it's fair to me, but then again, I'm not the average person. I do have a platform. I do have an audience that I speak to. So I'm trying to I took the feedback. And so I thought I'll just kind of, I try to steer clear of certain things because, I mean, it's not the kind of person who I am, right? $10, 10 GMD for TJH year, 0.20 for the future. I don't know what you're talking about. How do you think FESCO will look if we strike oil offshore Jamaica? So I would actually, that's a great question for Jeremy. Maybe I'll see him at the AGM. I'll ask him that. I mean, is it a good time to buy TransJamaica shares? I don't know. I'm not the person to ask. So don't go down that path, Jermaine. What path is that? Someone just posted a photo with contest being closed. $10 for this year. Okay, cool. All right. I mean, we'll see. In 7 months, we'll see if you guys are right. I do have, so far, I would say that what I have estimated in terms of price has actually been, even I have been surprised. Let me say it that way. So you can keep your price. We know where it's going. Okay, cool, great. Because the purpose of my content is not to lead people to a price. It's to create content, to teach people how to invest, to get people to want to invest, to get people to, just see the benefits of investing consistently. That's the hope for the content that we create. FESCO doesn't refine. They look to see how they can just make more money. Time in the market is better than timing the market. I think you can do both. I think you can do both. So it's not either or. It's better than sure, but I think you can do both. WIP stands to benefit from oil discovery at this moment. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So that was my updated thesis. Hopefully for those who watch the replay, let me know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think about this thesis. Tell me your own thesis on TransJamaica. Let me know if you're a shareholder. Let me know your price that you bought it at first. Tell me the price that you're expecting it to go to. For those who make it this far in the video. If you have made it this far, it would be good if you like the video. Share this video with a friend. Encourage that friend, that family member, that person in your life to invest. Now, what I will say, I think I told somebody I'd mentioned the level 2 program. Now, our level 2 program is meeting this Saturday. So we're almost halfway through the year. So for this Saturday, we'll be going through the financial statements for companies, right? So this is the month where we teach you how to read financial statements, how to know what to look for. I'm going to share exactly what I look for when I read a financial statement. We're going to start with the profit and loss. So for those of you looking to join level 2, if you sign up for the rest of the year, you get 1 month free. And I wanted to say this before that I didn't. When you sign up for level 2, you can share that membership with your spouse, with your children, with your parents. So you're actually okay with watching that video with the family or with somebody else, right? We have a few persons in the level 2 program with their sons or their daughters, with their parents, with their spouses. You don't have to hide them off to the side. They can sit beside you. It's completely fine. All right. The fee that we charge is just for you to get access to the community, to the membership, to learn how to imagine that you can learn how to invest for something that can make you a lifetime of profit and wealth for $8,000 a month. Right. I went to buy some food last week with my wife. We bought meals for us and our kids. It was $5,000. And I was like, $5,000 for one meal. And you have the ability to learn how to invest, to learn how to do it right, to make money for yourself and for your family for $8,000 a month. And we keep 2 sessions per month. One is a live teaching and the other is a check-in call where I'm doing coaching, answering questions. The coaching session alone is worth 2 or 3 times that $8,000. And then we also have a class where you can ask questions and you learn how to invest. So I think that's great value. You can sign up for the year. For those who are interested in level 3, you can't do level 3 unless you do level 2 first. We're going to do an intake for level 3 in November this year. So for those in level 2, you want to kind of try and figure out how to get the methodology right, things like that. And you can be prepared to apply for level 3 when November comes. Jermaine, if Petrojam would ever list, they're not going to list. A refinery is capital intensive, eats cash. TJH does not. I bought it when it came out in 20,000. Or you mean 2020? And 15,000 USD. Oh, okay, I just got it. Just got there. If we don't file, do you have a level 1? Yes, we have a level 1. Level 1 is a free course. Check the link over on YouTube. In the description of this video is a link to level 1. So you can sign up for right now. When you're finished with level 1, you can sign up for level 2 right away. All right. All right, guys. It was great to be here with you. Hope everybody's doing well. Remember our level 1 meeting tomorrow. I'll tell you who it is. So we'll have Jeremy Barnes, CEO of FESCO, joining us tomorrow in the level 1 community. We'll be asking him questions, getting updates on the business, and he's just gonna sit in on our meeting, right? So he's gonna be a part of our level 1 meetings, and I'll be inviting CEOs to join us inside the community for those meetups because we've been growing. Our community on Kajabi is now 3,200 people, right? It's almost there. So we have a good amount of audience on the platform. So I'll be doing more live sessions inside the platform because we have we have more people there in the community than who join the streams, right? So I'm going to be inviting CEOs to come and join us, special guests to come and talk about investing, especially for the level 1 community, targeted at beginners. Level 2 and level 3, I do have some special guests planned for you guys as well. And so for those who are on our emailing list, we send out a request for a notice that we're taking on coaching clients now. So we have 10 spaces for coaching available. 4 have been filled so far. So we have 6 slots left. So if you're interested in being coached by me one-on-one, then you can respond to that email and I will share the details with you. Once we get 6 more clients, it closes off. I won't be doing coaching again for at least a year. So if you're interested in being coached, you can let me know. Do you offer one-off consultations, Jermaine? Only to those in level 2 music, guys. So once you sign up for level 2, there's an option there where you can book a one-on-one consultation. That's the only setting in which I do it. So I don't do one-off consultations because if I do a one-off thing and you don't understand how to read the market, you don't understand when to buy, you don't understand when to sell, I'll be doing you a disservice. So we only do it for level 2 because in level 2, you know how to do things right. All right. I can't make predictions. I'm an influencer. Yeah, man. So join us in the community tomorrow. You'll get to ask Jeremy your questions and so on. Marvo, good to see you. Hopefully you're well. TJH getting me closer to retirement. Interesting. We're reaching $8 is quite shocking for me. I wouldn't say it's shocking for me. It's a few months ahead for me, but not shocking. All right. All right, everyone. Take care. I'll see you again real soon. Okay, Jude's, the cost for level 2, $8,000 a month. If you pay for the rest of the year, That's 7 months, you get it for $48,000. So $48,000 to learn how to invest and to make money on the stock market. I think that's a good trade-off. All right. Sold a huge chunk of shares at 690. Feels bad. Okay. Alicia said, would you buy more now, Sean? Sean says trying to buy back in. Well, Sean, just put in a market order. Let's put in a market order, Sean.
You've always heard that you need to invest, but you don't know where to begin.
Don't worry, leave that to us. We've been teaching people how to invest for the last 8 years and have helped over 45,000 people get started with investing in a simple way. And now we've made the process even easier by creating a course that teaches you how to get started investing in 5 simple steps. And it's called our L.E.A.R.N method.
Before you invest, you need to 1. Look at your financial position. 2. Establish your personal goals. 3. Assess your investment options. 4. Research the best options for you. And 5. Normalize investing regularly.
With these 5 easy steps, you can start your investment journey with confidence and clarity. But wait, there's more. We've created templates and resources to help you take action right away. After this course, you will know how much you have to invest, your investment targets and timelines, and how to invest to achieve your goals. Register now at learngrowinvestclub.com.